Hey friends, I'm Stacy and this is Gorgeously Aging, and today I'm going to show you guys how to do a lifted eye look that is really nice on hooded eyes. And we're going to use the Tarte Glamazon palette. This is a really beautiful palette. It's been a while since I've used Tarte and I've gotten back to using some of their products, and I'm reminded how good their eyeshadow palettes are. So this eyeshadow look would be beautiful on anybody, but it's especially good for lifting the aging eye. Now, if you want a softer look and you're not as concerned about long wear with your eyeshadow, certainly a primer is not needed. On the day-to-day, I don't always use primer. I typically use it for going out or on days where I really want the eyeshadow look to hold up super well. Today, I'm going to use the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, and I'm just going to go ahead and I like to put it on my finger, but you could put it on a brush or apply it directly from the wand. And a little bit goes a long way. These last forever. You don't need a whole lot. Now, if you have some hooding in your eye, mine is mostly towards the outside where this kind of hoods over, and a little bit here. But if you have some hooding in your eye, you really want to create some lift and go above that natural crease. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to start out with this fleshy toned light color and a big fluffy brush, something that's not dense, that has some flexibility to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a wash of that color just lightly, not a lot. And that just makes everything blend smoothly. It's kind of like putting the gesso down on a canvas if you're a painter. Gives you a good starting point for the rest of the eyeshadow look. And I'm going to go in with this little bit deeper color. This is kind of a sand color, a little bit deeper than sand. And I'm going to go right above this natural crease. And we're just going to lay down a little bit of a transition here. This in and of itself will help lift the aging eye. I'm just going to go back and forth. I don't want to pigment all the way up to my brow. I want to leave a little bit of flesh peeking through here. And these pigments really do blend out nicely. Some get patchy. I haven't found that with the Tarte brand. It especially helps when you lay down that light color first, but they are just good quality pigments. Okay, you can see already that that gives the eye a little bit of lift, and it focuses your attention on the upper part of the eye and not the hood here. We definitely don't want to emphasize or create a focal point to where we're having those hooded areas. So I'm going to take a little bit smaller brush, but it's still kind of fluffy, it's not dense. And we're going to go into this color here, which also works well for a bronzer. And just dab a little bit. And we're going to go above the crease and just lay down a little bit of color. I'm going to go very carefully here because I don't want to over pigment. So you can go back into your color and just add as much as works for you. Gentle strokes are good because this tissue, especially on aging eyes, is a little bit delicate. And I'm just going to create this shape here of lift. Now, if it's too harsh on the outside, we can buff that out with a larger brush. I'm going to wait and see how it comes together. And I'm just going to repeat that on the other side, just building up this shape and this lift. And don't worry if it's too intense because that is easily buffed out with a larger brush. We're just getting the shape in there for now. I'm going to bring some of this color over so that it blends into the center part of the eye. And I really like matte colors for aging eyes, but a little tiny bit of shimmer in that center of the lid. If you love shimmer, who cares what other people say about shimmer on aging eyes? Do what makes you happy and what makes you feel beautiful. So we're getting that shape in there. Now we're going to go back to a fluffy brush. This one's a Sonia Kashuk brush. We're just going to do some buffing. Sometimes I make these long, kind of oval type movements. And other times I'll just do a light flicking to blend. Back and forth helps, and lifting upward toward the tail of your brow. And that softens out any harsh edges. You can see how I'm doing kind of this oval. And then back and forth, flicking upward. Now before I move on to glamorizing this or amping it up a little bit, I just want to stop here and say this is a great daytime look. Right here, that's all that's needed. And maybe just a little bit on the lower lash line to tie it all together. So I'm going to move on to the lower lash line, but I am going to come back and do a little bit of some of these other beautiful shimmers and just glam it up for a more evening look. I love brushes with this type of a tip on the end for the lower lash line. Something that's a little denser, it's smaller, isn't too fanned out because I don't want a real fanned out lower lash line. So I'm going to go into this color here. And I'm just going to put a little bit to tie this in with that upper part of the lid. I generally don't like to go back and forth. I do it some, but I find because the tissue on my under eyes is a little looser than it used to be. I'm in my 50s now, so going back and forth and tugging at it seems sometimes like it doesn't give the best look, and I don't want to pull on that skin. So sometimes I just go in little short strokes towards the inner part of the eye. That way we're not tugging back and forth. I'm just going to repeat that, and this really pulls it up and connects it with that upper angle. I'm also going to go into this little bit darker color here that we used previously with the same brush and just focus on the outer corner and pulling that up. I do really love this Tartiest, and this has both a double-sided eyeliner, the regular eyeliner pencil part, and it has this liquid eyeliner. And sometimes if you get some of the eyeshadow on your lashes, you can just correct that like this, and you can also easily tightline with either end of this. I go back and forth between the liquid and the regular liner. The liquid seems to be more forgiving and gentle if you have lash extensions on than the other end. I'm just going to hit the lower lashes with the e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. So here is a really easy over 40 eyeshadow look for hooded lids, but we're going to glam it up just a little bit for an evening look. Let me swatch some of these shimmers because they're really beautiful. So these are the shimmers that we have, all so pretty. As much as I love this coppery color, I'm going to go into this little deeper, more neutral toned color. And on a flat brush, you can certainly use your finger. That gives you a little more color payoff, but I'm going to keep this a little bit light. And I would go right into the center of my lid and just lay down a little bit of that beautiful brown bronze color. I love adding a pop of sheen if you're going out to dinner. I think it just hits so pretty in the light. So really just keeping that in the center. And then I'm going to take a small fluffy brush and go into this nice deep brown. We haven't used that one yet. This is for an evening look, but I'm going to just add a little bit of that here, just to deepen up that outer V. And I'm just going to kind of pull it inwards. That helps to blend it in here, but we'll take a large brush over it as well and just blend with that little brush, and we'll go back and buff it out with a larger fluffy brush, flicking upwards and just buffing those harsh edges out. And you can do this to your preference. Some people like a more defined outer edge, and some people like that really buffed out. I'm going to go back to that Tartiest pencil, and I'm going to go to the liquid end of it. I love the tip on this. I'm just going to give my upper lash line a little more definition. This, of course, is optional. I like it for an evening look. I like to drag it across the lash line, really close to the lashes. And then when I get to the corner, I go into the corner and flick up. I also like to get the inner corners. And this is really only if I want a more glammed up look for evening. I usually keep it pretty soft and simple for the daytime. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my Color Science Total Eye, just a tiny bit, put it on the back of my hand. I'm going to use a concealer brush, just dip into that, just to kind of brighten up that under eye and define the edge a little bit more. And I'm just going to soften up this, or blend out this lower lash line a little bit better. Then I'm going to take this brush and go into this beautiful highlight color and just take a little bit to brighten the inner corner. For a daytime look, I'd use a matte. I really only use these shimmers on the inner corner when I'm going out in the evening, but that's personal preference. And I'm going to get a little under the arch of the brow, just to get that lift. So here's the finished makeup look, focusing on lifting the hooded lid. And this is using the Tarte Glamazon palette. And there are so many combinations you could use in this palette. I actually really love the blue and can't wait to try that. I've only had this palette for a few weeks, maybe 3. I've used it a handful of times and I've always tried something a little bit different, but I haven't yet dipped into the blue. Let me know if you've tried the Tarte Glamazon palette and what your favorite eyeshadow palette is right now. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching today. Be good to yourselves and to others. I will see you in my next video.